Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quiz Marketing Podcast. My name is Josh Hanum. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Interact Quiz Software. Today, I am joined by Lindsay Stockall. She's the co-founder and creative director at Stockall and Company. They're a performance marketing agency that helps lots and lots of brands with many things. I'm not going to cut this short by saying that all you do is quizzes. That is not what all you do. But we are here to talk about the way that she has helped her clients implement quizzes and quiz funnels into their businesses. I'm super curious to learn about this. So thanks for being here, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for reaching out. LinkedIn is a wonderful platform.
I know for this, I haven't bought into a lot of the other stuff. Maybe you have, and we could talk about that.
Yeah.
But for direct messaging people to get podcast guests and things like that, it's been great. So
Community.
yeah, it's nice. All right, I'm gonna go straight into this because I'm curious.
Sounds good.
What have you done with your clients? And maybe you could start with one and we can go from there with quizzes, and how has that helped their businesses? Like, what kind of tangible benefits have they had from integrating quiz marketing into their businesses?
Of course. So you can look at it with businesses, whether that's, solopreneur or small to medium size, large to enterprise. We always ask our clients, what are your goals, right? Where are you starting? Are we just starting the business? Are we trying to build an audience, beta test an offer? Do you already have a solid offer, a solid organic funnel? Then we just need to drive more people into that funnel, right? So depending on where our clients are in their business life cycle, quizzes can really help at any one, right? So, or at any stage. So, for example, we would look at someone who's just starting, right? It's like they know organically they have a good offer. They've sold it, organically on social, but they want to add a little bit more fuel to it. So let's try to do ads. So that would be, I guess, one thing that I should preference is we drive quiz traffic with meta ads. So Facebook and Instagram. That's usually the primary traffic driver, unless the client has a very strong organic audience. Then we can do organic website conversion, DM, ManyChat type of automations there. But I feel like maybe for our chat, we'll stick to paid if that's cool.
That sounds great.
And
Yeah.
if we have time, we can geek out over organic engagement.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Amazing. So sorry, I lost my train of thought already. So what was the question? How do we use it?
Yeah, how are they implementing? So if we start with meta ads as the beginning point, what does it look like from there? What's that quiz experience?
Amazing. So we'll actually start with the offer, right? So we'll start with their paid offer, usually the lowest ticket offer, right? And then that lowest ticket offer will sell into a larger paid program, something we'll call like a self-liquidating offer. We work a lot with coaches, so that's why I say offer, right? So whether that's, like a monthly retainer or a coaching program, whether it's a business coach looking to bring on other business coaches to coach them, or if it's a nutritionist coach looking to sell, a monthly retaining program. That's, usually where we see the quizzes in our business. We have used some quizzes for consumer packaged goods. So what is your pizza personality? As silly as that sounds, but people love it, right? What is your beer personality? Or you can, really take it outside of the kind of fun and entertaining piece and what hair products do you need, right? So kind of answer some I want to say scientific questions. I'm from the beauty world, so I'm very ingrained in product knowledge when it comes to hair and skin products. But working with your, the PK team, creating questions to then figure out what is the best hair care products for you as an online consumer, that is huge, right? You don't necessarily know because you don't have a professional to support you with. So quizzes can help there. Did that answer the question? Again, I can geek out over this and really lose my train of thought pretty quickly as we chat. So you just pull me back.
No, that is a great foundational point. So I have some follow-up questions for you. I think first question is, what does the ad look like? Because that's a question we get multiple times a day. It's what do I make that ad creative if it's going into a quiz? How do you get an ad that's going to capture attention and convey to the audience that this is a quiz but like if you just put a screenshot of the quiz, a lot of people are like, it doesn't work. So what's working?
What's working? Well, I'll do a shameless plug. If you are looking for ads management, that is what we do. Like that is why you hire an expert, because we'll do a very strong onboarding process. Now you can do this at home too, right? Like if you don't have the budget to hire an ads management agency like myself, our fees start around $2,000 a month plus the cost of ad spend. But look at your offer, right? You really, really, really have to understand before you even get into messaging, positioning, and creative. You really have to be grounded in your offer. And that sounds very silly and very foundational, but you would be surprised how many business owners we speak to who aren't really grounded in that. They can't really articulately and concisely communicate what their paid offer is, right? So really understanding what you're selling and the pain points and the unique selling proposition, right? So write all those down, right? What are the pain points? What are the unique selling propositions? Basic SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of your offer. Like really do that foundational work. That is such an important step, because if you skip over that, you're just closing your eyes and throwing ideas at the wall, which is probably why you get a lot of questions with, I guess quiz consumers saying, ads aren't working. We're not being able to run them, because it's looking at, and this is what something you and I had chatted before we hit record, is that quick fix, right? Marketing is not a quick fix. Marketing is here to add fuel to your product, not solve a product problem. So I think that's like a big piece to understand, is really understanding that product, really understanding your customers down to like name, right? What is their name? What is their gender? What is their age? What do they drive? Like all of those pieces are what's going to support creative that's going to catch their attention, right? Like think of like as a consumer when you're walking through the mall, you like certain brands, you like certain colors. There's certain stores that appeal to you based on merchandising, right? So you have to think of your ad as like you're merchandising your storefront. But if you don't know your customer inside and out, you're not going to be able to merchandise that storefront that's really going to pull them in. What words do they like to hear? What words do they not like to hear? All those are very, very, very important. And working with, a branding partner or a positioning partner, or just you can Google, brand personality forms and questionnaires just through Google as well to kind of help support that. Because I know you're probably not going to like this answer. There is no one quick fix when it comes to an ad creative. Like this is the magic formula. You really have to test it out. What I will say is we find in our agency, static tends to outperform video when it comes to an ad creative. So I always like to start with static first, and then we move into video creation based on the performance of those ads. And what ads tend to perform best is when they're very like on the nose. So we don't want to be cheeky. We don't want to be creative. We don't want people to question what we want them to do. Like straight up, just ask them. Like click here for this, like find your personality here, find your perfect hair product here. Sometimes we tend as marketers to think very creatively, right? Like this is a really cool, thought-provoking campaign. And yes, that can work on things like billboards or bus shelters, more traditional media. But on an ad, you want them to click. We don't want to start a conversation. We want them to click to get you to the landing page, to either submit the form or have the ability for us to retarget you with other messaging to get you to do what you need to do. So the more on the nose that you can be in your ads, the better. Super basic, and don't try to make it look like a newspaper ad, right? And that's where we see a lot of clients kind of fall to, is they'll create these really, really cool, very labor intensive graphics. You don't need those. To start, we always say something very basic, very simple, that looks more organic than something that would look like a magazine spread. Because people on social don't like to be sold to, right? They like to consume content. So it's a nice mix of something that looks organic, but is very straight to the point and asking them what they need to do. So to your point, like a screen grab of what an actual quiz is, consumers don't really care, right? Think of the benefit, right? What are they getting out of by completing that quiz? Did that
That's
answer
really
your
good.
question?
Yes, that's great. I mean, it just makes me think about how hard it is to be simple and be straightforward. It's so much harder than to be long and verbose. I think we're seeing this a lot with chat GPT and other AI chatbots. Like, they might get you to the right answer, but it's just so much text. Like, it's just so long, so verbose. And like part of that is that it doesn't have that foundational knowledge about you that you should have about your audience, the way that you're talking. I really like the mall analogy. I'm going to San Diego this week, and they just have like a million malls. They're cool. But you go in there, and I was visualizing what you're saying, and it's so true. Like, what they choose to put on the mannequins if it's a clothing store, or what they choose to put in the window if it's electronics. If that appeals to me and my style and the things that I like, then I'm likely to go in. And that's the same thing as the ad space on meta platforms, Instagram or Facebook, or I don't know if WhatsApp does ads, but wherever those people are, it's the same exact thing that's just on the internet. So that makes a ton of sense. But then it takes such a deep knowledge, and you can probably resonate with this. Like, it takes such a deep knowledge to be able to write something simple that is on the nose, like you said. Like that, because if you get it wrong, then it's zero. It's like a binary. It's like there's no room for error. If it's not the right thing, then zero people will be interested. If it is the right thing, then some of your audience will be interested in click.
And that's why, like, knowing your audience is so important. And again, we work with a lot of solopreneur like coaches, right? And we have, some coaches we generate up to, 60, 70 plus K a month for them. The testimonials are on our website, so I can share that, no problem. But that is like, those individuals know their audience. They know exactly what they like. They know exactly what they don't like. They know the exact verbiage. So taking screen grabs from emails and not that from a confidentiality, we're sharing that, but if you do have a copywriter, for example, like actually pulling verbiage from your DMs, pulling verbiage from emails, like how are clients actually talking to you? And that's the kind of verbiage that you want to use as a tool for your audience listeners who are, looking to potentially dip their toes into ads to generate traffic to their quiz for audience building. You can look up Facebook Ads Library, which is a great, I don't want to say it's not like a tool or I guess it's a resource you could call it, but you can search any brand anywhere in the world who is running meta ads like Facebook or Instagram and see what their ads are. So if you're not quite sure where to start, you don't know what creative to test, you don't know what your copy should be, look for like-minded, larger, like globally enterprise businesses, whether those are coaches or other brands that are in alignment or parallel to your specific ideal customer, not brands that you like as a human or your business likes as a business. But this goes back to knowing your customer. Like, I know that this customer purchases from this brand. I know that this customer would buy an Instagram course from this person or really likes, this thought leader. Look and see what their ads are like. And maybe that can act as a starting point to draw inspiration from. We never want to copy because there are reasons why ads work for some individuals and ads work for others, but it's a great place to start. So hopefully that will give, the listeners today a place to start to kind of start researching, screenshotting, and pulling. One thing I will say, try to avoid copying the links from Facebook Ads Library, because once those ads go away, those links no longer work. So if you're building kind of like a mood board or a bank of inspiration, screen grab or screen record.
That's a great resource. I've definitely been on there a number of times, and it's always cool to see what's working, and the things that you're saying resonate, because it's like, it's rarely the product itself or the service itself. It's something more appealing to the person. And you made a point in there where it's like people are on social media to consume, and that, or maybe that's what I heard. I think you said something similar to that. Consume content, right? Like, they're there to be entertained, I think, is probably the biggest one. Maybe to learn something every once in a while. But yeah, it's generally just to be entertained. So then you have to bridge that gap over to the actual products and services. People ask me this question all the time, so I'm going to ask you and see if you have a different answer.
Yeah, of course.
What types of quizzes work the best on Meta ads?
I can't answer that question.
Like,
I can't answer that question. And I say that because it's all dependent on the quiz itself, right? Like what that offer is and what the customers actually relate to. Like it's like as I said, we like to start off with static ads because we see that those have the best conversion rates. But we have some clients that video ads just perform better. Same with placements, right? Sometimes feed placements work best for one customer, where stories and reels are another. Sometimes Instagram ads work better, where Facebook ads work better for another because of the demographic. So I can't answer that right now, but I'll let you finish. I think I just like interjected as you were going to explain it. Give me a little bit more context.
No, I was going to ask a separate question because that's the same answer that I give. There is no answer. And it goes back to a lot of stuff you're talking about, knowing the audience, knowing what they want, knowing what they need. And if that's the premise by which you build this entire quiz experience, then you're fine. I think people always want to pigeonhole it into like, well, if I ask 6 questions and the title is this, then it works 100% of the time. Absolutely not true. My opinion, and maybe you have a different one, but I think people are open to hearing that now because things have gotten dramatically harder. I don't know if you agree with that, but it seems that across the board, all marketing has gotten a lot harder. And now people are open to hearing like, you gotta like interview a bunch of your customers. You gotta know who they are. You gotta know them at a personal level. Now people are like, okay, tell me more. Whereas, 5 years ago, it was like, well, why would I do that? I'll just run this like funnel thing that I copy paste and it's making me money. So I think there's an appetite now.
Yeah, I think like when you go back to like, what worked and what didn't, right? And like it's like, what is the winning formula for a quiz? You can say the same thing with copywriting, from landing pages to sales pages to emails to social media copy. And we get this question a lot when I'm doing keynote speeches or presentations. How long should my emails be? Like roughly the character limit for each, roughly the character limit for landing pages or sales pages or social copy. And of course there are limitations, like on social, they only let you write X amount of characters. And same with email, some, depending on your mail system can, cut it off, and landing pages and all that good stuff. But I always like to say, as long as it needs to be, but no longer. And I know that is a very ambiguous answer to that, but if there's value, keep writing. Like, don't leave out copy because you think it needs to be shorter. If it's of value, or to your point, as you were saying, entertaining, keep going. But don't write because you feel like you have to write to an X amount character limit because it was something that you Googled and somebody on the internet said, emails need to be, 2,500 characters or more, right? So write to what you need to be. Same with the quiz, right? Maybe it's 10 questions that you need to get to, right? So maybe it is only 3. Like, it all depends on the value and what you need to do. So just kind of take away kind of those guardrails and play in a space that feels authentic to you, your brand, and your offer. And the customers will resonate with it if you're targeting the right demographic on social. There's something else I wanted to mention in addition to that, but I forget what it was.
I was just going to echo what you said. I give the same answer. I just did an ebook about like quiz best practices, and I think I wrote what you said like maybe 100 times. Like, there's no answer to this question. The answer to this question is, what does your audience want? Yeah. And because we've been doing this 12 years, and every element of a quiz, people want to know, how long should I write the title? What should the title be? How many questions do I have? How many results do I have? The answer is always what you said. Well, how many does your audience need? What's going to work for them? What actually helps them? How many like different answers to this question? If the quiz is a question, right? The quiz is like, what do you need more of in your life to feel happier? If there's 5 answers to that question, great, there's 5 results. If there's 100 answers to that question, there's 100 results. It just depends on how many actual answers there are. And then, you go to the questions and it's like, well, what do you actually need to know to give the person an answer? If you only need to know 3 things, great, it's 3 questions. If you
Mm-hmm.
need to know 100 things, maybe try to pare that down. That's a long quiz, but like you could probably fit it into like 30, and that's fine. Like I've seen quizzes with 30 questions do really well. And
And
so
I think
it's
I
just,
think that brings up a good point too, which is the niche, right? Like when you
mm,
said, like, just, I know this was just an example, but like the 5 things you need to do to be happy, right?
mhm,
We see this in, some clients that we work with where the offer is not niche enough or specific enough, right? So
mm,
if you're trying to sell something, whether that's a high ticket offer, a low ticket offer, you're trying to build community, you need to speak directly to that individual's pain point. So be as
mm,
absolutely specific as possible, because if it is more, big picture, you're going to cast a wide net, right? But of that net that you're casting, which I know we'll probably chat in a little bit too, but like the quality of that audience, right? We're not
mhm,
looking to just, give you 3,000 email subscribers. Anyone can go on the internet and buy that with bots, right? I'd rather see 100 very qualified, engaged email subscribers who are going to purchase from your business. So being super specific and niche down so that you're actually turning people away to get the people who are actually going to purchase from you. So being really niche and specific, and then also thinking when it comes to your questions, you can use that as market research as you're continuously building your audience and your offer. You can use their answers to inform your marketing strategy, inform your operational decisions. Like those pieces are really fantastic market research things to look into.
yeah, 100%, 100%. And I'm glad that you brought up the quality, because that's something that, from my perspective, has really shifted as well. It's changed a lot. Email marketing as a practice, I almost see emails as like subscriber. They were always called that, but like paid subscribers is what I'm saying. I almost see emails now as like SaaS product subscribers, like i.e., you have to treat an email subscriber the same way that you treat somebody who pays you $12 a month for Spotify. And if they churn, that's bad. It's going to reflect badly on you. If they unsubscribe and mark you as spam, that's basically the same as like getting a charge back because somebody doesn't believe that your product is delivering and worth paying
Mhm.
for. It's changed so much. Like when we started back in like 2013, it was like people were doing these crazy campaigns of like, I can buy email addresses for $1, and then I can sell ads against that and make all this money. And now you try to do that, you're kicked out in 3 seconds. Like that's not how it works anymore. And so quality is hyper important.
Mhm.
And that is a question that we get a lot. And I think a lot of people get this wrong, honestly. Like they cast the wrong net, and then it works, except it's the wrong people, which is almost worse than if it just didn't work at all, because it's so
100%.
frustrating. Like you get
Because then you
people
don't
on your
know.
list and it's the wrong people.
That's it. And like we've seen that, like we've inherited ad clients in the past where the whole list building campaign was contests. Fill out this
This,
form and get entered to win a $3,000, Visa gift card. And then you look at like, okay, maybe, we can't, look at it from, the outside looking in. Like, let's look into the data. And then you look into the audience targeting, the email segments, and it's like the bounce rate is massive, the unsubscribe rate is massive, open rate, click rate, like all that's like now you just spent a ton of resources, like budget and manpower, collecting all these emails that actually aren't converting. And to your point earlier, like the landscape with ads now is so competitive, and the consumers are smarter. They know if something's a live event or it's not, right? Like they're very in tune with marketing foundational, tricks. So it's up to us as strategic marketers to continuously come up with innovative strategies to engage and entertain the audience so that they just be like, oh, just another quiz that's going to sell me into something. Like people know that, right? So
mm-hmm.
it's like we really have to add that value to bring them in, to build that relationship and then nurture.
Yeah, I mean this stuff, like lights me up because
You do.
I think it's so much fun. It's
Yeah.
like, all
Puzzle.
right, y'all, like the floor is here now. Can you move forward? And if you
Mhm.
can't, then AI will create the average. Like AI can create the average of everything. So are you actually going to do some work and figure out what does this industry need? What do my audience need? What actually matters to them at like a deeply personal level that goes way beyond what some demographic data can tell me? And then can I craft something if it's a quiz that's like asking them all the questions that they didn't even know they needed to be asked, which
Mhm.
like you'd only know that if you know them at like such a personal deep level. And then the results, you're like giving them advice and suggestions that are like palatable, so not too much, not too little. It's like Goldilocks, you gotta be right in the middle.
Yep.
And can you like deliver all of that and then replicate that like 10 times for 10 different results, which is
Mhm.
great because it's like now this is a real competition. Like this is an actual competition. This is not just who can read Ogilvy on advertising and regurgitate it. Like can you actually do something?
100% Googling what's the best, ad conversion, or what's this or what's that. And it's like there isn't one. I mean, that's something to kind of speak about too, is like, what should your cost per lead be from a quiz subscription, which I think we can kind of park. Cause I did want to just kind of like lean into one of the features that I love about your quiz platform is it gives templates, right? Like it gives examples of what potential quizzes could be. And what I found really helpful with that as a marketer, not that we leaned into it, but it was a great resource for clients who are new in their business, when new to marketing, right? They have a solid business, they have an organic proof of concept, it sells, but now they want to, unleash some list building, right? So I would always say, take a look at what Interact has from a template and example perspective. That will get your brainstorming juices flowing as to what potentially could be. Then from there, bring back what you like, what feels good to your business, and then we're going to build a custom one ourselves. So I would never actually copy and paste and use a template, but it was such a fantastic like bank of resources just to start that brainstorming wheel to show like what type of quizzes could be. And then that goes back to like, what is in alignment with your current assets, right? Because we're all into content distribution. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. So what do we currently have in our resource bank, whether that's, former email copies, lead magnets, website landing pages or sales pages, social media copy. And then you can brainstorm that with using that template bank and come up with a quiz that feels good. So again, you're not reinventing the wheel and creating yet another asset out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And we just launched this. We created our own quiz bank similar to like the ads bank that Meta has. We
No
like
way.
painstakingly went through the top 1,000 quizzes on our platform and then categorized all of them. So if you go to trainwreck.com/examples, you can see them. They're broken out into like the 6 main categories. Like there's one for coaches. Then you can go through and see like who's really been successful with these quizzes. And we limited it to people who have been running those quizzes for at least 2 years, but the
Right.
average is more like 5. And so these are like products. These are not
Yeah.
like what you'd think of with like a BuzzFeed quiz. This is like somebody put hundreds, maybe
Yeah.
thousands of hours into creating this quiz experience. And it's like battle tested. It's
Yeah.
it's rock solid. And so that's like the new version of that. Because I think what we found with those templates is that even though it's helpful,
Yeah.
what's missing is like the real world application.
Yes.
Like, how does this actually tie into a product? How does this actually sell something? Which, like, at the end of the day, you can't run ads unless you got something on the back end that's going to make you money. So,
That
how
will sell.
yeah. So how does that work? Like, and I think that's why we're shifting more towards the examples model of just
Mm-hmm.
showing like, here's how real world people are doing this and being successful. And like, you should get on all of their email lists because they're like masterful email
Interesting.
marketers.
Yeah.
You go through these are real quizzes. We link to their websites. And so You can go through them and see that whole flow, which is, I think, like templates on steroids, basically, is like seeing the actual full version of it. But
And what
yeah,
you
I think,
said too, like we referenced like ChatGPT, right? Or like articles on free Google articles, and how consumers are being more educated and not using so much templates, as you said, like examples, right? Which I think is such a fantastic way to educate and empower customers in a way that feels connected to your integrity. Because you can use ChatGPT, of course you can, but everyone's using it, right? It's one brain. But you can use that for ideas, maybe to get the brains to get, the wheels going. But when you create an entire marketing campaign, entire sales copy, social media posts strictly from ChatGPT, I mean, we can never guarantee anything because that would be out of my own integrity, but it's going to fall on its face, right? Because it's going to look like what everyone else put into ChatGPT. So using your brain and really sitting down and thinking and doing that work, like you're going to do that work either way, right? You're going to try ChatGPT. It's going to cause you a butt ton of headaches. You're going to pull your hair out. It's not going to work. Then you're going to have to go back and redo it again. So why not take the time, sit down, brainstorm, build it out properly, do your research, and find a way that feels right for your business and your customers versus just kind of honestly copping out and taking the easy way. But as we know, the path of least resistance is the one that's going to come with the most roadblocks.
Yeah, that's a good quote. And I really hope that this is the year of people using their brains. I think it'd be such a more interesting world to live in, because it's part of the reason why I do this business for over 10 years. It's like, it's really fascinating to see what people come up with, to see the way that people solve problems for other people. It's worse than boring to see an AI answer. Like, it's a nothing. It's just a big nothing burger. It's like, this is like, I have zero interest in this. Like, there's nothing about this that's appealing. And I think the last 2 years we went down this deep rabbit hole of like, everything can be AI. And it's like,
Sure.
well, now the world is boring as hell. Like, it is so boring. There's nothing interesting in the world. And unless we get back to using our brains, it's going to just be that way. And I don't think that's going to last, because, I mean, just like you were saying, like, those ads aren't going to work. It's not going to lead back to actual revenue. And that's going to force people to then be like, okay, let me actually think about this instead of like copping out and just asking an AI.
And if anyone is still like really gun-ho on the ChatGPT because it's so easy, think of it like online dating. Can I use that reference? Is that like an okay reference to use, or like dating in general?
Yeah, do it.
Like, do you want to date a robot that you built perfectly out of your brain, or do you want to actually, date someone who is original and authentic, has human emotions that you can actually connect with authentically, right? Like, what type of business do you want? Do you want something robotic that is cold and just checks the box to be like, check, I have this? Or do you actually want a connection? Do you want to build something authentically that you feel inspired every day to wake up and have a conversation with, right? And build and engage with. So that's how I like to look at ChatGPT. I feel like there is, a place for it, but when you're relying on that to build your entire marketing strategy, your entire marketing copy, why even have a business then? Like, you're just trying to phone something in, right? Like, you're just like, there's no passion there. So that's how I look at it.
No, that's a great analogy. And I think that's like, all relationships are that way. Like, if people were perfect, then that would be very boring. Like, there's no story, there's no nothing. And I mean, I agree. I think you can use the AI as like a helpful assistant. We have multiple versions of it now. Like, we have one that like creates a template for your business. So you put in your website, like, here's a template for you. It's absolutely not meant to be used out of the box. Then we have another one that's like a ChatGPT, but just trained on our information instead of like all the information. So then you can ask it like, hey, I wrote this result. Does this, satisfy the best practices according to what Interact would say? And then you can just run it through that. But it's not meant to be like, oh, hey, can you write my whole thing for me?
It's like it's like a stepping stone, right? Like we all need a little push, we all need a little help. It's like a nice little stepping stone, support system to kind of run with it. And I think you got a good point too about making mistakes, right? That's how we learn, right? If we don't fall forward in our business practices, whether that's creating quizzes, ads, marketing strategy, copywriting, we're not going to grow. And if you look at some of the biggest, thought leaders out there, their whole audience was built on their struggles and how they overcame that. Because that's authentic. That's human, right? So that's kind of how you have to look at building your business. You're never going to learn, you're never going to scale it unless you find out what's not working. And leaning on automation solely is just, to me, it's kind of copping out versus being human and learning and falling forward, because that's really where the growth happens. I know now we're getting into like a little bit more of that woo-woo territory, but yeah.
No, I mean, that woo-woo stuff, like when we wrote that ebook on quizzes, there's like over 100 references to different fields of psychology. It's completely psychological. The whole thing is. And, you don't learn much unless you're making mistakes. Like the problems are not revealed until you mess something up. And I think that the whole mentality of like, tell me what the right way is, and then let me use AI keeps you out of the realm of making mistakes, because it is painful to make mistakes. Like that's just what it is. Like there's no way around that. But it also keeps you very mid. Everything's mid. Nothing is good and nothing is bad. It's just in the middle.
You're just
and the middle is the worst. Like middle is completely uninteresting to all other humans. And so if you want to build something that's going to capture attention, kind of going full circle now to the very beginning of this of like, how do you make an ad that captures attention? This is the answer. We figured it out. Figured it out. So that's actually perfect because we're about to come up on time. So we figured it out. We solved it. Thanks so much for coming on. This is a super great conversation. Remind everybody where they can go to find your work and work with you if they want to do that.
Yeah, of course. So you can, find me on LinkedIn. Josh, that's where you and I connected. So Lindsay Stockall, I'm there on LinkedIn. You can also check out our website, stockallandcompany.com. You can kind of check out what our services are, read testimonials from what past and present clients have heard about us. And if you're interested in working with us to help build your quiz, to drive your audience and into your self-liquidating offer or sell your e-commerce products, we would love to chat. Just click the apply now button on our website to fill out our new client request form and get to chatting.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Lindsay. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, Josh. Thank you.